All right, happy Wednesday, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. Happy hump day, all that good stuff. Welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam gaming and other good stuff. I am Steven, aka Midnight Hatter, your host, and joining me again after a few weeks is a great guest that we had on, Wayne Snow, Howling at the Earth. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Good morning. I'm not sure. Actually, I guess it's afternoon now. So happy
Oh yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Welcome back. It's so great to have you back on. Fresh on the heels of a birthday and releasing a new track. So this is going to be a fun conversation for us to talk about that. And but before we do get started, I do want to give a shout out to my esteemed co-host Adam, who is not going to be joining us today. He's feeling a little under the weather. He saw that Netflix Gundam trailer, and he posted a video about it this morning. Go check that out. Link in the description if you haven't yet. It made him so sick that he can't. He can't.
is it a good thing or a bad thing? I saw like a screenshot and I was like, "What is this new?"
Okay, so I'll selfishly ask you, like, have you, seen anything about this, CGI Gundam movie that's coming to Netflix in October?
I literally just saw a screenshot and I thought it was already out. I mean, I saw two images and I wasn't sure which image was real. So,
That's y
are we
you know
happy or are we upset about this? Because that might just like determine which one was.
I mean, I think it looks awesome still,
Okay.
personally. A lot of people were complaining about, like, the visuals of, like, the facial animation, things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, so it was the one that didn't have, like, the actual Gundam head, right?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
which
lame.
P
What?
people were saying like, "Oh,
That's
the
lame.
Gundam design looks like it was AI generated,"
Oh, no.
which is funny because it's like, it was actually designed by the same, like, mechanical designer that did the Easy 8 from Gundam from 8th MS Team.
Huh.
So if you remember that old show from when you and I were kids on Toonami, late night 8th MS Team viewings, but yeah, so, like I said, I had to selfishly ask because, we do cover a lot of Gundam here, but like I said, you did just drop a track here at the end of August, Orantius, am I pronouncing this
Arantius?
correctly?
Arantius? I always say
Orontius?
Arantius?
So, yeah, what I love about this track, and I have links down to, stream it on Spotify, down in the description below. Don't listen to it now, obviously, we're talking about it now, but, like, immediately after this, go listen
Or
to
do
it
listen
because
to it, but have it on silent and on repeat.
yeah, there you go,
Yeah,
yes.
right?
Get the stream
Those
count up.
names, right?
But
For
I
legal
think it's
reasons, don't do
fantastic.
that.
What's that?
I said for legal reasons, don't do that.
Oh, no,
Have you
yeah,
heard
at
about
least not
sorry.
without a VPN.
Yeah.
No, we don't encourage that here.
Yeah.
But, no, so congratulations on that. I think you said, it's up to over 1,100, streams on Spotify
Yeah,
now?
last I checked, yeah, it finally hit that 1,000 mark. I can finally get my $3 from Spotify. You know?
So now, put that in perspective for people who, are obviously not music artists
Mhm.
and who are publishing music on Spotify. It's only been 2.5 weeks roughly since the track dropped. To get 1,000, 1,000 streams as an independent artist, how does that track with, like, what your previous experience has been, publishing singles?
Right, I think, it seems like I finally found some kind of breakthrough, which is just through, like, Instagram and Facebook ads, really, you know? Um
Yeah.
Because the algorithm loves when you give it money. I
It's
mean,
true.
and obviously, it's much more than that, because, like, you wanna make ads that are, like, appealing, like music videos or just, like, you singing the song. You still need that engagement. It's just, like, putting money into it kinda boosts the engagement and who sees it and, like, the random people that see it. And I think I got lucky with that, last, release with Avalanche because that really helped me kind of find my people.
Yeah,
Like, I think that's how I
absolutely.
found you guys and,
Exactly.
how that kinda got popular, and then, like so I didn't spend nearly as much on this one yet. Also because my Facebook got hacked and I lost all that stuff, but
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you've been dealing with a lot more stressful, situations than
Yeah.
just, the creative process. But no, like you said, I think that, yeah, obviously, yeah, the algorithm does love when you pump a little money into it, and it
Mhm.
does get you that kind of exposure. In fact, since we talked before, I've noticed that there are even Gunpla accounts that have been taking out ads or at least doing promoted posts where, just to get a little more traction, just to kind of cut through the noise a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, and so it's very interesting to see because if you think about it, that's not necessarily even a field like, if somebody follows me because I'm building Gundam model kits, there's no real like,
sorry.
oh, bless you.
Okay, sorry.
There's no real, I guess, transaction that happens at the end of that, right? Like, what's the call to action? Like, you're not going to just like give me money to build model kits. And
Right.
so it goes to this marketing theory that I've been learning a lot about recently through Frank Kern, where it's like you're using your ads instead of using your ads to sell something, to sell a product, you're using your ads to like buy goodwill. And
Yes,
so
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah, and I feel like that's where you were coming from with both Avalanche and, like you said, you pumped a little bit of, money in towards promoting Orontius, but, like, it really is just like, "Hey, give this a listen," and the cool thing is it's like, we can go listen to it for free, it's like so it's
literally losing nothing to click a button.
right, like,
No,
oh my gosh, I'm gonna hold a gun to your head and make you listen to a
yeah.
song that's good, like
And, like, especially with media, you're really like you said, yeah, you're hoping to find that goodwill, and we're selling not selling, but, like, we're providing, like, feelings and emotions, and, like, I think we're definitely, like, a generation of nostalgia, you know? So, I'm definitely more likely to click on something that makes me feel like that inner power, will, that makes me feel like I'm connected to something, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think that it's even more powerful than just nostalgia. How there's like a German word to describe every type of feeling. The one that I think resonates the most with guys like in our age group is anemoia,
Mm.
which is nostalgia for a time that you didn't live through.
Oh my
Um,
god, I was literally talking to this dude the other day, uh, uh, great artist, he goes by, like, Sky Cave Studios on Instagram,
oh, sweet.
amazing artist and animator, so I'm hoping to kinda work with him at some point,
Yeah,
uh,
heck yeah.
but we were talking and he's like, "Yeah, I just want nostalgia for something that never existed," and I was like, "Have you been looking at my playlist?" Because I literally have a playlist called "Nostalgia for something that never existed."
There you go. See, there's a
Yeah,
word for it.
it's like inbred into us that that's what we crave and that's what we need, so
Yeah, and so do you think that part of that might be like, sort of that grass is always greener type idea where like, because we were born in the 8 or well, I was born in the '80s, you were born a little bit shortly after that, but
early
like,
'90s, yeah.
yeah, but still that same type of era that we all seem to long for, right? Like late '80s, early '90s that like, are we just looking at it with rose tinted goggles, or do you think that there is something there that maybe something in the digital age we've kind of lost something?
I think we were just sold so much media and, like, so much new media, and, like, we were pushed this, like, agenda of morality and that if you do the right thing, like, good things will happen to you. You know, and so we're living now where, like, we're just trying to do the right thing, but there's, like, so many things to do, and it's not exactly moral, you know, like, when you're working this 9 to 5 and, like or even just, like, working your own side gig and turning your side gig into a main hustle, and, like, you're literally grinding your time away, you know, and
Yeah.
even though it's, like, to an extent something you love, it, like, doesn't always feel good. And so I think we see all this media we were sold where, like, the grass is always greener and, like, you know, people are with their friends and there's, like, so much love and support, and then, like, you know, not to mention how it's presented with to us with, like, all the colors and, you know, cinematography and stuff like that, and I think we see it in our adulthood, and it just takes us back to, like, our hopeful youth. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I think that hope is valuable to people. You
Mhm.
shouldn't give up hope, but I guess there is sort of like a cognitive dissonance that happens when, you're watching these stories and you're reading these books and these fairy tales about, like, the good guys always win. But
Mhm.
then the reality is that, that's not always necessarily true. It's like sometimes, bad things happen to good people and good
Right.
things happen to people that we perceive as bad. I say that the way I phrase that is because, like, I think that it's easy to judge people, from a distance. Like y- uh you might think that somebody is, like, undeserving or ungrateful or something, but you don't necessarily know their personal struggle, and so I think it's very hard to,
Right.
sit there and say, like, "Oh, well, uh, so and so doesn't deserve to be a celebrity," or something like that. I think, somebody who probably gets it the worst is, like, that actor, Glenn Powell. Like, everyone just says he has the most punchable face, and it's like,
Wait,
the
who is
poor
that?
guy.
Who is that?
He was like the bad guy, well, not the bad guy, but he was like the rival pilot in the new Top Gun movie. Yeah,
Oh.
so, he gets a little, shafted. I do have to, shout the chat here though because, Pyro is here saying, "Then why am I giving you money again, Hatter?" It's because you love me. Becau No, I think that
'Cause
that's
you
more of like,
appreciate the content.
yeah, yeah, so that I highlight your comment here,
Yeah,
and then he
it's
went
part of
on
the
to say,
community.
like you said, I don't know if there is a word for it in German is a valid thing, but they do have a word for anything. Well, I think that every language has a word for everything. Well,
Mhm.
technically, yeah, they all have a word for everything, literally the word everything. But back to the topic of, music and content, one of the things that you posted with regard to Orontius, which you didn't post with for Avalanche, was a, like, fully fledged produced music video.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
So tell me about the, like, production process. So first of all, who shot the video? Because it's, like, very tight quarters and, we're getting to see the full faces of the band and everything.
Yeah, all 3 of us did. You know? So, I mean, I probably shouldn't be sharing this secret, but, there was only 2 of us being filmed at one time and then 1 person doing the filming. So, it was all shot just on my iPhone. Like, I have
Hey,
a DSLR, but I figured, the iPhone's kinda just as good. If you get the lighting right, then, you can get a good video.
that's
Um,
true.
but yeah, so, you just play the song and because that's usually how music videos are made. You play the song in the background and, we're basically miming to it, and, 1 person's filming and then the other 2 are playing or just 1 person's playing. We got 1 shot that was just 1 person for each person, and then we got, like, a duo shot, and that's where you see, like, kind of those, like, pan.
Yeah. I love the sweeping pans where, you
Yeah.
kind of get to see the sync up, and so credit to you guys for being able to sync that up so well where, you're kind of I there's definitely a difference between singing along in your car and, like, actually having to perform to music that you're then going to cut over it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, it's all shot in, like, 4K, so it made me realize that I needed a new computer. I actually ended up editing it all on my phone,
Oh,
which
wow.
which is insane. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy what we can do now. So, there's really no excuse. Go out there and do stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, shoot, Slumdog Millionaire was shot on phones, so it's like,
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, like, you can literally make an Oscar-winning, movie by shooting on your phone, and I think that, this is something that you and I were kind of talking about in the green room,
Mm,
prior to starting the stream is, the sort of democratization of technology and art and creativity it's never been an easier time in history for anyone to go out and produce content of any kind or media.
right.
There's the old photographer saying where it's like the best camera is the one that you have in your pocket, and it's like,
Mhm.
even if you have like you have a DSLR, I have a DSLR as well, and like I hardly use it. I'm using my webcam here just for the convenience of it.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many, like, short clips when I'm shooting a YouTube video, like, I'll just do on my phone for the sake of, like, I know it's gonna be 4K and, like, the white balance and things like that are taken care of by the phone, and so I don't necessarily have to know what I'm doing,
Right.
which
Yeah.
which I think is, like, the dirty secret of us creatives in this day and age is that, like, a lot of us don't know what we're doing. No, I kid. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that you do.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that, what do you think that that means for people that are trying to pursue a career in a creative field, whether it's music, filmmaking, whatever the case may be, you know?
Uh, just do it, you know? And I don't think you necessarily have to worry about if it's good or not, you know? I feel like if you like it and it's what you're doing at the time and it's like the best of what you can do at the time, like that's amazing, you know? Find some people within your field and learn from each other, but just have fun. Like I was just telling like my best friend the other day, I was like, I miss when we were in college, just making stupid videos for class, and it's nowhere near the production that we could be doing now, but like that's
Oh
when I
yeah,
had the most fun doing it, you know? Um,
definitely. I mean, dude, when I was in college, I actually lived with a couple of film students, and so we shot short films and stuff like that, and watching them lug around, like, these, massive, like, camcorders and things like that, and we're trying to, like, nail down this lighting and things like that, and it's like, man, how easy kids have it these days that it's just like, whip out a phone, if
yeah.
as long as you've got some ambient daylight, you're usually pretty good as far as lighting goes. Indoor shots are a little harder, but like you said, you shot the video in 4K.
Mhm.
Which, that opens up a whole new realm of possibilities when it comes to going into your editing software, and then you can do creative cropping and cuts and things like that,
Mhm.
like panning in software instead of having to pan on the phone, things like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and to just like to add to like your limitation of what you might have, like I think a good idea is a good idea, like to an extent of whatever you're doing. Even if you don't have like the know-how of how to make things look the way you want them to, if you have a good idea, I think that will come across always. And I think that someone's going to see that and you can build off of that, and start
yeah.
your fan base slash community. And then you get better next time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you never know what's gonna resonate with someone, and, I guess to, quote the late great Bob Ross is like, "Happy little accidents."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sometimes what might not be in your original vision might be the one thing that kind of sets it apart. Um, but it reminds me of, like, there in college, there was this artist that, whose work I was following, and he did these amazing, like, he specialized in, like, painting water towers, like,
Hmm.
he'd go out and, like, look out at these, country roads where you've got these water towers. Usually they have, like, the name of a city or county, printed on the side of them,
Yeah.
and he'd paint these, like, incredible, like, lifelike realistic, portraits of them, probably, like, 72 by 60 inches, like, huge,
Wow.
huge paintings, and then he would go through with a red spray paint can and, like, mess them up. A
Wow.
and but that was, like, it's like his gimmick, like, it was like,
Uh,
the idea is to not strive for perfection, but to introduce the imperfections that then make the art sort of come alive for you. Um, so, that it's an interesting way of looking at it. I don't know that everyone necessarily agrees, but I think that that speaks to certain people, right?
yeah, no, absolutely.
Um But on that note, I do want to I'm gonna actually try and set up a screen share here. We'll see how well it goes. Um, let's see if I do. I probably should have set this up beforehand because, obviously this is
Ah,
this is this is
well,
bad
there it
radio.
is.
But on the subject of art, I wanted to bring up the artwork that was made for the album cover, that Orontius is gonna be on.
Oh, yeah,
So
they
let
did
me
such an amazing job.
Yes. So I
Uh,
wanna I wanna share that, and tell me the artist's name and how you got, connected while I
they
bring this up.
They go by Call Me Mave on Instagram, and I think Don't Call Me Mave on TikTok, where they're um, uh, active. And you can follow me on Instagram, and I've posted their stuff everywhere, in their tag. But yeah, I found them on TikTok, I'm pretty sure. Or they found me really. They gave me a follow, and then I checked out their stuff, and I just really liked the art style, and it seemed like uh, what I was going for really the overall feeling of what I think Howling at the Earth is going to be. And yeah, I definitely am going to be working with them a lot if they would like to. Um, but yeah, and they did it so fast. They're like, I was like, I only need this within like the next 2 weeks, and they're like, I can do it in like three, honestly. And I think by like the second or third day, they really had like the whole outline done.
I know,
Uh,
and so you actually posted you cross posted, both of you have it, like, as, at the time lapse of the progression of
yeah,
the
yeah.
painting and, like, um, I mean, not to sound, like, pretentious. I always feel pretentious when I talk about art stuff, but, it's like, I feel like, the guy from that movie Snatch where it's like, "Oh, I like it, it's got depth," but
That
it
was
but
a
it
really
really
good one.
does, like, you can you could see the depth going on in the, like, in the artwork where it kind of pulls you in towards this horizon line that's really beautiful, and I think that, it's something that you don't typically see anymore, like, I mean, first of all, the idea that you even see album covers anymore because,
Mhm,
music being, like, all digital, it's rare that you even get to see something, like, tangible outside of just, like, the little screenshot that appears, while you're streaming it.
mhm.
And so, like, I love that, you have been committed to doing this and creating this piece of art, in collaboration with Maeve, where, it's not just like, "Oh, I'm gonna snap a photo of myself and call it the album cover," right?
Yeah,
Like, there's intent and there's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, uh yeah, like I said, it just feels intentional and it harkens back to sort of like a nostalgia to me, like this, kind of the journey, right?
absolutely. Yeah. So like I've said before, I don't have the full story kind of like fleshed out or really what's going to happen, but I know that I have this. Like I know that like our character has stumbled upon this like uh you know, I want to say like almost ancient civilization where there's like so these are buildings and there's like trees and stuff overgrown and it's really going to start the action of their journey. So
Yeah,
and that's kind of what Arantius is about. It's like starting the journey, or that initial spark of when you decide you want to do something, and that fire in your heart of like getting excited about that. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. And like, so would you call Drifted like a concept album in that you have this story baked into it, or is it just kind of like, or is it just something personal to you?
Yeah, I think Drifted. So there is a song titled Drifted, which I'm thinking I'm going to release next. Not exactly sure when, but it is essentially done. Just needs some tweaks here and there. But I think Drifted's gonna be like the first uh not rendition, but the first like quarter of where it's going to kind of establish like what's happening in this world. Um
That's awesome.
and there's probably going to be some duality because some of these songs were written forever ago, and so I do have some like personal like feelings about them, and then some of these songs are written with the story in mind. So
That's awesome. No, I mean, I think that kind of harkens to, you and I are both, big Coheed fans, and
yeah.
so there's, like, definitely that heavy influence of because, I mean, even, like, with Coheed albums, like, there is, like, the overarching narrative that goes along with, like, the concept album portion of it, but then every now and again, there's a song that's just like, "Oh, this was, inspired by George Floyd," and it's like, this one's not tied in with the rest of the album. So it's
Mhm.
like I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with having the album itself tell a story, but then individual songs may, reflect something personal, and I mean, you could say that about any, like, novelist or filmmaker where it's like they have, like, a self-insert portion of their
Right,
creative work.
right.
Um, but yeah, on that note, I feel like Orontius is a very, Coheed inspired, track, just in the cadence of the lyrics and everything. Um, you know, if you, if you added a double bass pedal to it, then I would see that, easily passing for a Claudio song, so that's very cool.
But that also might be in part because, when I first came up with the riff, years ago, I kind of thought maybe it was gonna be from my other band, Fable Circuit, and
Gotcha.
then yeah, so that's why it's a little bit more, like, straightforward. But then I was like, "No, I'm keeping this." This
This
is
one's
for
for
me.
me.
Yeah.
So how do you navigate that? Like, when you are, creating music for 2 different or even multiple different, projects. I've seen lots of artists who will almost go under different, like, pseudonyms when they are creating for, like, okay, this is like a quiet part of me that I'm not going to share with the greater, um, you know, the greater fans of my usual body of work. For reference, I'm thinking of like someone like Porter Robinson who did like that whole virtual self project where it was like, I'm gonna go like super heavy into techno instead of doing the typical like pop EDM stuff that I've
That's
been
not what he
doing.
does?
Right? It's like,
That's not what he does?
right,
Wait,
yeah,
what's
someone should have told him like, you could have just released that as part of the normal flow.
wait, so so I only knew Porter Ro of, like, the World thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only thing I know of him. What else does he do?
So his new album is like pure pop. Like,
Really? Huh.
yeah, like
Wow.
you know, I would say straight up bubblegum. But I
Huh.
like it. Like, honestly, I love when artists get a chance to express themselves in different ways. So,
Right,
I'm
yeah,
not I'll never hate on someone for changing their style, even if it's just, for one track or something like that.
right.
But, but yeah, like, how do you navigate that? Like, do you ever get that bug where it's like, I really wanna, like, do a progressive hardcore track and, like
Yeah, so I think it's just feelings. So fun fact, I also have like a lo-fi thing out now that is going by Talus, Tallas. I actually did like a Gaslight remix that just came out like a week ago that I told no one about.
So, see, exactly, this is exactly what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, these private, you
Yeah.
know
So I think it's just like feeling, you know, like I think the main difference, I mean, granted, Fable Circuit's not really doing anything anymore. But I think the main difference between, like, the stuff that I put out as, like, Howling at the Earth and, like, what I would share as Fable Circuit is just, like, with Fable Circuit, you're still gonna get, like, heavy riffs and all that stuff, but it's a little bit more solid, and I think Howling at the Earth is, like, more free and sometimes just straightforward, like, you're gonna get, like I almost wanna say, like, slice of life introspective guitar riffs, if that makes sense to anybody listening. And with Fable Circuit, it's gonna be, like, aggressive and in your face, you know?
Yeah, well, and
War general versus pacifist.
there you go, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that definitely that description would resonate, I think, with people who really, as opposed to just, like, sort of consuming music, but, like, really listen to the music and really listen for the narratives that are going on
Mhm.
in in between the melodies and in between, the different rhythms that are coming at them, is it's like, you know, the reason that more aggressive music he does get in your face is because it's trying to evoke a certain kind of emotion,
Right.
and I think that with, like, what you're describing as far as, like, Fable Circuit versus Howling at the Earth is, like, Howling at the Earth seems to be sort of trying to draw a feeling out,
Mhm.
out of its listeners, whereas, Fable Circuit is more, like, imposing a feeling onto the listeners, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, you know,
Do you think
that's
that that's a fair description?
I feel like you'd be 100% correct.
'Kay, and I think, yeah, like I said, for people that kind of know what we're talking about, like, there's definitely a difference between when you're, partaking in any media, when you're watching a show, movie, whatever the case may be.
One's
You
like, "I'm here for you," and the other one's like, "I'm here for you."
Yeah.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you go, exactly.
yeah.
When you change the emphasis like that, that's
Mhm,
and what's amazing is, so like you said, you can write a riff that almost fits better with one, but with just a couple of different tonation changes, like, you can repurpose it for the other.
mhm. Yeah, no, yeah, you should definitely check out that, I mean, I'll send it to you later, that Gaslight Lo-Fi remix because it's I like it a lot. I like the way it
Yeah.
came out. Um
I'm a huge fan of, like, like, lo-fi as a genre, I guess, like, what, was it 5 or 6 years ago that it, like, really
Mhm,
took off, like, everybody was doing lo-fi stuff, right?
mhm.
And it's more than just slapping, rain sounds and record scratches over things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those help a lot to
Yeah.
identify the genre.
Well, and so to your point there, like, sometimes, like, the ambient sounds that are coupled with the music can go a long way in informing how it's received, right? So, like,
Mhm.
something like Howling at the Earth is a little more, it's a little more, like, independent, and, like, you really clearly hear, each instrument contributing to the overall sound, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Typically the bands that I've worked with in the past, like, will always have, like, pads running in the background and things like that.
Mhm,
And those types of things, they'll help fill out sound, and they kind
mhm.
of, like, create, like, an atmosphere. But, I mean, and tell me your opinion on this. Do you feel like those kind of take away from, the individual contributions going on in the band when the music is, like, filled out and
Um, no, because well, it depends. I think for the first record, second wave, I really wanted to do that as a, singer-songwriter's interpretation of a full band.
Okay.
So, like, what you hear is what you get, but even, like, in Avalanche, there's, like, some synths in the background, and, sometimes it drives me crazy, like, I hear overtones a lot to the
Yeah.
point that sometimes I'll be listening to, like, something I recorded, and I'm like, "Who put their voice on here?" when I wasn't, like, listening. So, no, but sometimes I like to kinda take those overtones and just, like, kinda throw in a drone. And, that just, like it fills out empty space so, like, the melody can do its thing and that you can focus more on the melody and not really notice when it takes a little bit of a break, you know?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it can be, I guess, yeah, it can be sort of jarring wait when a single instrument drops out, and
Mhm. Yeah.
then you're just, like, kind of listening to just drum and bass, and you're like, "Wait a second, what
Yeah,
happened?"
it's kinda like you're, like, walking on a track and, like, those, like, filler parts are like gates so you don't fall off.
Yeah, well
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what else do you so you don't have to answer this, I guess, if it's too prying, but, like, how far along are you in writing Drifted? Like, what
Right?
percentage-wise would you
Oh,
say?
it's, like, 98% done. Like,
Wow. So
or
you
maybe even 99. Yeah. I might have to
so
re-record one small part, and then it's really just editing and mixing. It's like or honestly, I could release it now and no one would be none the wiser. So, but
but you would, and that's the important thing,
I
right?
totally would. Matter of fact, I have done that, where I've sat on a song for, like, months and been like, "Huh, click. Let's see what happens."
Well, and it's funny because that's been a lot of artists kind of crutch, right? Is they do the
Mhm.
pre-release versions of tracks almost like almost as like teasers, right? To like get
Right.
the reaction to it so that they know it's kind of like outsourcing your creative process to a degree.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel like that is something that you have been doing? Because like we talked about earlier, as far as like the algorithm and posting content consistently to social media platforms, I noticed that you've been posting a lot of new riffs and things.
Mm.
And so, do you feel like you're kind of not outsourcing? That's not the right word. I would say like focus grouping your tracks by, like, kind of drip feeding pieces of content that you're going to then release in full on the album.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to get an idea of, how people are going to react to some things, and sometimes it's good to just, like, have them there to remind me, like, in my feed. Like, sometimes I'll just go through and be like, "Huh, I haven't really fleshed that out. Let's, like, work on that today, see what
Yeah.
happens." Um
Do you typically get comments, like, when you've posted, like, YouTube Shorts and, like, Instagram Reels of just noodling around and cracking out, like, a quick riff? Do you get comments, like, months later that are like, "Hey," just kind of just either A, acknowledging that it's there, or B, like, "I would love to hear this in a full song," or something like
Oh,
that?
yeah, sometimes, yeah, and it's my favorite thing to, like, go back a year later and be like, "Hey, remember that? Well, it's finally done, here you go." So,
Right.
yeah, no, I definitely get comments like that sometimes where, like, I'll post a riff and they'll be like, "Wow, please, for the love of God, turn this into a full song."
It's funny because I feel like, when people post, like, works in progress, your whips,
Oops.
y whips, I'm envious of you because obviously when I post a work in progress, it's like, either junky plastic or like, some loose soldering and things like that. It's not really much to look at, but like when you post a work in progress, like there's actually some meat there. There's something to consume,
I don't know,
like,
I
oh,
think that's kinda cool too, though. I don't, because
yeah.
I knew absolutely nothing about soldering or, like, and for someone who doesn't, like, who would get interested into, like, model making and stuff like that, I don't know, like, I follow a girl who does, like, Zoids,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, I think her Instagram handle is, like, King and Zoider, and, like,
That's
their stuff is
awesome.
really cool, like, I don't know, and, like, you see the beginnings of a build and you're like, "Oh, I think I know what that is."
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I think that's pretty cool to,
Yeah,
like,
and I mean,
yeah,
I'm definitely not discouraging people from posting that stuff, like I said, I post it too. I think that it's important to you said it earlier, like, post things even if you're not proud of them because,
mhm,
you know, otherwise you're not gonna get the feedback at all.
right,
And so it's almost like putting yourself out there as an inoculation against when you do produce something that you are really proud of, that that
betting
you're
against
holding close to
yourself,
your
yeah.
chest.
Mhm.
Oh, man, the worst thing that you could do is keep something to yourself for so long, and then, you have this precious baby that you then post on the internet, and it just gets totally ripped to pieces.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know. I mean, have you suffered from any, like, super negative feedback of your music online?
Uh, yeah, but, like, those comments are always so dumb. I mean, even though they hurt a lot, because I get really self-conscious. I remember on Avalanche, like, someone was like, "Oh, yeah, AFI already sang like this," and I was like, "Okay, you're right, I guess."
Yeah.
And then, like, for this one, someone, because I just threw, like, what is it called? What's the app called? Like, Motion Leap? You ever heard about that?
No, what's that one?
Well, basically, they'll just, like, you can take a portion of your picture or whatever and just make it, like, on this, like, loop,
Oh, yeah.
So I did one for this one, and, it was just, like, to make the water kinda move, to make the clouds kinda move, make it a little bit, like, pop a little bit more, to
Yeah,
catch people's, I mean, because the art itself is amazing, but,
yeah.
just to catch people's eye a little bit more. And someone was like if you paid someone to animate this, they totally ripped you off, and they're like, "Is any of this real? Did you actually write these songs?" And I was just like, "What?" And, like, I was about to comment something that I was like, "This is so stupid." I just deleted it, like
I'm glad that you bring that up because oftentimes, there are people that will offer constructive criticism for sure. And I think that like all criticism kind of comes from a place of either A, jealousy, or B, they genuinely have your best interest at heart. Like, and they might not even phrase it in a way that sounds gentle.
Mhm.
I've definitely gotten criticism that it's like, uh it's like they want me to succeed, but they're mad that I didn't live up to expectations or something like that,
Mhm.
and so it comes off aggressive, it comes off hateful, but I'm like, "You know what? You're right. I actually do need to step up my game and fix that, like, that's fine."
I get offended. I'm like, I'm about to throw fire. Like, oh my god, like, I mean, this wasn't really criticism, but, like, I, like, went off on this dude the other day at one of my shows because, like, I thought he threw trash in, like, one of my tip jars. And, like, so, like, I stopped playing, like, I threw my guitar down, and I was like, "Seriously?" And, like, ran up to him and, like, threw it back at him, and he was like, "No, I meant to throw cash in there." And I was like, "Oh."
I'm embarrassed now. Like,
Yes, I was very embarrassed, but still, from my
but, I
point of
mean, if
view,
if he
I
had
thought
that
I was
that
being
would be, like,
heavily disrespected.
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
that's not the same as a mean comment. I think that there's, like and especially, like, if you are playing a live show, God, like,
yeah.
I can't imagine what hecklers are like,
Oh my god. Oh my god.
but
Yeah,
yeah, it's,
yeah, that was
I
just a side note.
it's something that you gotta that you gotta suffer with, but, like,
Yeah,
to your point, like, a lot of it just comes off as dumb, like, those comments that you mentioned in particular, it's like, "Okay, would you like to try and do better?" Like, it comes from a place of clearly I always like to say, "You're only as good as your haters," so
right, yeah, which, like, this is a new thing, for years, I had, like, no haters. So, I feel like I'm finally doing something right at this point.
Yes,
Yeah, right?
exactly. No, so that's pretty cool, but, yeah, so I guess going back to the point that I was, making is it's like, by putting out, things that you're not necessarily in love with, you know, that you're not protective of, and when those get met with negative criticism, you can learn to brush it off a little easier than
Right.
um, now, like you said, I don't think that there's brushing off somebody that's, throwing trash in your tip jar. That's whether you're playing your own song or whether you're playing a cover, like, I think that that's gonna
Mhm.
be disrespectful either way.
It felt so personal. Because
And
you're
that was all
making
I needed.
that
Like
was all I needed, like, statement heard, pull up. Yeah, not really, like, I gave him a big hug afterwards, and, it was fine.
that's cool. I'm glad that you were able to reconcile that and hopefully make a fan for life because honestly, that's the kind of interaction that, I don't know, that's like how best friends are made, where it's like
Yeah,
you get
no,
in a fight at first,
absolutely, like,
and then,
intense
you
emotions.
yeah, once you squash the beef, it's like, "Oh, man, I had no idea."
Mhm.
Um,
He was really nice.
nice. That's good, that's good. So, let's see. I think I did cover all of Adam's questions here. I see that, oh, Robert in the chat is bowing out for now, but he did ask for, musical commissions.
Musical
Is
like,
Yeah, like, if you could put, if you could put some written words to music for people. I don't know if that's something that, that's not a service that you would typically offer though, right?
I mean, I would. Like, I haven't been asked other than from, like, those AI scammers. And I don't know if I guess you wouldn't have gotten those, but for a while, there was, like, scammers going around being like, "Hey, can you write me a song?" And just steal it. I don't know.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that was another thing that we were talking about before was like AI, and I know that I'm sure that this has come up like with some of the animations that you did, both for the Avalanche ad that went out,
Mhm.
and for the animation that you mentioned for Orontius is like, the accusation of AI being thrown out there, like, do you feel like so obviously someone accused you like, "Oh, are you even really writing these songs?" Is like,
Right.
it I'm almost wondering, like, is that more of an insult that someone's accusing you of not being authentic? Like,
I think that depends on how you're feeling in the moment.
yeah,
Because on one hand and I think I did feel that way a little bit, that I felt like "Oh, you think my songs are so perfect that, like, a person couldn't have done that? That's so
right.
nice." You know? And on the other hand, it's like, "How dare you?" You know?
Yeah.
'Cause this
Yeah.
is, like, me, you know?
It reminds me of that movie, I, Robot, when, Will Smith is interrogating the robot and it's like, "Oh, could you paint a masterpiece?" and stuff like that, and the robot's like, "Well, can you?"
Oh my god, so, yeah, I just started playing, Detroit: Become Human. You ever played that game?
Oh, what do you think of that game?
I'm not that far in it, but, my girlfriend and I are big Grey's Anatomy fans, and so, like, the main
Yep.
character, or at least one of them is, like, in Grey's Anatomy, which I think that's why we started playing it. But he is the one that, like, I guess he lives with, like, a famous painter.
Yeah.
He's like, "Paint something," and he did, and it was, like, something from his own creation,
And
you know?
and that's one of, like, the cooler scenes, right? Because it's like you get to kind of steer the narrative a little bit, by deciding what you choose to paint for him and,
Mhm.
which ironically, I think that the famous painter, like the mocap actor and voice actor, is the guy who played the android in Aliens. So
Really? I thought Michael
yeah,
Fassbender?
uh, no, this was, like, the old one, like, so, Bishop
Oh,
from Alien,
Aliens,
like,
right.
the one with the Marines,
Okay, cool. That's
but
really
yeah,
cool.
so a little throwback there, which I guess is kind of interesting that he's now the human character and then, and he's talking to an AI.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, to your point, I mean, I think that it's kind of scary to see what AI has done recently. My boss actually sent me an AI generated podcast where he like put in a topic and it's actually got like a host and a co-host and like they go back and forth talking about stuff and I was like,
That's interesting.
it's weird. It like they get here's the thing about it is it's like it nails the cadence and like the tone of like like an interaction, like a real human interaction, like you and I are having,
Hmm,
but the speech, like the actual content of it, is fake.
gotcha.
It's
Mhm.
so I don't know. And I always feel like I love the idea of AI democratizing access to certain things, like allowing people to somewhat capture their vision, um, the same way that like having a cell phone does for someone who's not a photographer.
Right.
But I think it's clear that like, AI is only as good as whatever the input is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that so far I have not heard an AI generated song that like I could really vibe with, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I did not too long ago,
Oh no, did you?
yeah, I forget what the genre was, but I was like, "This is kinda cool." I mean, obviously, after listening to it for a few seconds, you're like, "This makes no sense."
Yeah.
Uh, but, like, the instrumentals, like, they were kinda cool,
Well,
you know?
I think that
And
it,
again, so, like you said, you're only gonna get what you put out, and it was obviously, like, something I've already heard before, maybe
yeah,
changed
I
just a little bit. And
and
that's sorry.
okay. No, no, you
That's
go ahead.
that's another thing was, like, AI songs, like, one of the biggest things that I guess people are talking about are, like, the copyrights of, like, who they copied to
Yeah.
yeah, to kind of get the info to write this song,
Right, there
which
has to be seed data.
yeah, seed data, yeah, which is, you know, which is like a monetization in itself. I mean, like, if you can get paid for, like, an AI using you to make a song, like, that's something to use, I guess. Um It's
Yeah.
also gonna speak for, like, the quality of the song, you know? I think at some point, you're gonna be able to distinguish from, like, uh, an AI written song and a song that was actually made, like, from a person, And I feel like the people that can't distinguish it are already listening to butt rock anyway, so you know? Like,
Yeah, I think you're probably right about
how
that.
much of it is it really gonna change, you know? Like, musicians are already getting screwed now. Not to say that
Right.
that can't be fixed, but, there could
The
be some
degree
silver
to which
linings in this.
people are screwed. Well, one rumor that I've heard, around, like, generative AI is that, that they're not rolling it out before the US elections this year, but, like, starting next year, you're probably gonna start seeing, AI contracts around basically selling your likeness.
Wow.
There's actually already a program where it's like you record a video of you saying a seed phrase that is basically also your consent. So it's like you have a video giving consent to
Mm,
generate AI video using your likeness, using your voice. And so it's like, now all these athletes, they don't even have to film the commercials for the things that they're sponsoring. It's like, hey, I give my consent, and then all of a sudden Subway can make whatever cringy commercial they want to using your face and your voice.
that's crazy.
Um,
Will
it's
they have
wild.
to, like, disclose, like, this was, like, an AI model, like, in the commercial maybe?
I don't know. I mean, obviously there's some stuff around that, like, you know, just platform policies. Like, I'm sure you've seen, like, when you're creating stuff for Instagram and Facebook, like they have like disclaimers where it's like it used
Yeah.
to be just paid promotions, but now it's like, was this made during like using generative AI and all this stuff. So it's I'm sure
Mm,
that there's going to be some kind of disclaimer associated with it, but when you know that that person did give consent to use their likeness, then at least you know that sort of they signed off on it,
mm.
but as far as that goes, like, you don't feel threatened by generative AI as far as being a career musician, that's not the
No.
thing.
I mean, I think I said before we went live, the people it's like people who use AI to, like, create things wouldn't have done it in terms of taking away from other people's jobs, right?
Yeah.
The people who use AI to create things wouldn't have paid someone to do it anyway. Like, they either wouldn't have had the funds or wouldn't have had the means,
Yeah,
you know?
it's
And yeah, I feel like and once you have the funds and means to actually hire someone or the know-how to actually do it, you're gonna rather want to do it.
yeah.
And if you actually know how to do it and using AI anyway, like, you
Good on
know,
you.
like, I don't know, it's like, you look at all these, like, editing, softwares and how it made editing easier, and I'm sure
For
a
sure.
lot of people still know how to, like, actually cut film and, like, edit that way, but, like,
And
you
I
know
think that, I did a video, like, some time ago, with regard to generative AI and, like, programming, because the interesting thing there is, like, yes, you can ask, like, ChatGPT to write, like, a basic JavaScript thing for you, but if you don't know the foundations and, like, the fundamentals of it, you won't know how to prompt it to get what you want.
Right.
And so there's some things where it's like, I basically use ChatGPT as like my programming, like rubber duck programming, like debugger, where it's
Mm,
like, hey, can you tell me what's wrong with my code? And it's like, oh yeah, you've got typos here, here, and here, whatever. Um, and then like if something goes wrong with it, because I understand the basics and the fundamentals of it, I can be like, hey, I understand that this variable is being, used over here. And so I'm able to like talk to it in its own language, if that makes sense.
right,
Oh.
yeah. I mean, you can't fake intelligence, you know? If you're
As
going to
hard as
try
we try.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you're gonna try to get into something and don't have the capacity or willingness to learn as you go, like, at some point, you're gonna be outed, you
Yeah,
know?
there's definitely gonna be, like, a plateau where, you're not going to be able to progress past a certain point, with just AI assistance.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'm not worried about AI at all.
No.
I think if anything, it's gonna help a lot of people, and encourage life, hopefully, at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think especially, for guys like us that, we are like one man operations, it's like having having something that can help you accomplish those monotonous tasks, like you said, like editing,
Mhm.
um, it it's just gonna help you deliver the thing that you're actually trying to make easier.
Right. Which goes back to what I said before, if you have a good idea, you have a good idea. Yeah.
Well said.
Mhm.
Good deal. Well, we're coming to the top of the hour, so I do want to be respectful of your time and everything. So I want to let everybody know, of course, actually now would be the time to go down to the links in the description and go stream
Everyone repeat.
Orontius so that you can hear what we're talking about here
Yeah,
and
learn
see
all the words, come see me somewhere, that'd be cool.
exactly. Um, Now, I do understand that you've been doing a lot more touring here in the last couple weeks. Do you have any shows coming up that people here in the DMV area can
Oh,
catch
yeah.
you at?
Well, my band's playing in Shepherdstown. If you wanna see me solo, you can do that just about, like, anytime. But my band's playing in Shepherdstown, on the
Sweet.
28th of September at this place called the Mecklenburg. If you're in the area at, like, 9 o'clock.
Or
Um
if you're willing to make the drive, honestly.
Yeah, if you wanna make the drive, I mean, you can go to Harper's Ferry and see some beautiful things. Um, and then got a lot of shows coming up in, like, Martinsburg and probably back in Arlington, and yeah, a lot of fun things coming. And those will be on my website/Instagram probably within the next couple hours.
Sweet. Yes, I put a link to your link tree down below as well,
Awesome, thank you.
so you can catch all of the all of that info. And of course, like I said, go if you haven't listened to Avalanche before, that's the song that really connected the two of us. So
Yeah.
that that uh track is on there as well. But Wayne, thank you so much. I appreciate your wisdom. I
Yeah.
appreciate your insight into these creative spaces because it's yeah, I know that people kind of look at a relationship like yours and mine, and they're like, what do these guys like have in common anyway? And I'm like, actually, more than you might imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I appreciate you, sir. Thank you for coming on and chatting with us
Yeah,
today.
thanks for having me on again. Yeah, it's been exciting.
Absolutely, yeah. We need to do this more, and of course, we are going to talk Zoids some more because I saw that chat lit up when we started talking about Zoids. So,
Yes, it's awesome. Yeah.
but yeah, until next time, we'll catch you later.
Until next time. See you later, man.
Cheers.